Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing with Sleezy, the podcast. This is season 6, episode 15. I want to thank everybody for listening, tuning in, and downloading. The season's been a blast. I've had fantastic guests, a few great solo episodes, so got to keep the season pumping out. And sorry for the delay on episodes not coming out as quickly as usual. Working a job, got a lot going on. Just a lot of projects outside of the podcast, so that's why it's taken me a little bit longer this season. But I'll be pumping out episodes all the way through April, so I get you 21 episodes for this season. So this is episode 15. This will be a solo episode. Today, Thursday, March 27th, is MLB opening day. Some cities, it's almost like a national holiday. The Cincinnati Reds, that's how it is. When I went up to opening day in Cincinnati a few years ago, it was terrific. They have a parade. Everybody's out celebrating. There's a grand marshal, which is usually a former Reds player or manager. Everybody walks to the stadium together, and then you go to the game that's sold out. And seeing Great American Ballpark sold out and all the seats filled and everybody standing around, it's just a great feel, and it makes you excited for the baseball season and just makes you excited for the year. And the thing about Cincinnati with Great American Ballpark, sometimes you can go to a game and it's $5, $10 to get in, and you can kind of sit where you want and float around and rotate. But on opening day, you're going to be sitting in your seat because the whole place is packed and it's full. It almost shuts down the whole city of Cincinnati. So, and tickets cost over $100 usually on opening day in Cincinnati. So it's wild. You can go to opening day game in Cincy, pay over $100, and then turn around and go to game two of that series and get in for $8. So it's just wild. But Cincinnati definitely is one of the most valuable ballparks when it comes to getting your value and the bang for your buck when you buy a ticket. But yes, so I always like doing previews of seasons upcoming or tournaments or sports, anything when it comes to like World Series, Super Bowl, fantasy football previews. So I love getting these out. Always love talking about MLB. So I'm definitely excited for this season. Excited to see what happens. As a Reds fan, I'm very, very excited to have Terry Francona as the coach, a legendary coach in Boston and Cleveland, and now him being in Cincinnati, where he actually was a player at one time. So it's really cool to see. I know he's going to bring some success, and I'm really excited to see what Ellie does. This year I think he can put up MVP numbers and also be Gold Glove defensively. So yeah, I want to break down the divisions and kind of go over my picks and how the league could play out this year. So definitely going to be a fun season. Definitely going to be exciting. So tune in to this season's baseball and see all the action. So I first want to break down the AL East. So the AL East consists of the Baltimore Orioles, the New York Yankees, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Boston Red Sox as well. So with my pick for the division this year, I'm going to go with the Boston Red Sox. I think they're going to be the favorite. I think they're going to be hot. I think the New York Yankees, they're definitely always going to be a contender, but I also think the Baltimore Orioles as well. I see it as the Boston Red Sox, the Baltimore Orioles, the New York Yankees, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Tampa Bay Rays. That's how I see that division playing out. I think Boston is definitely the favorite. I just think they have a strong team. They definitely brought in some great guys, but with the Baltimore Orioles, they have Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, Colton Cowser. So definitely have a lot of exciting guys, and definitely think that they can contend for sure. But I just think with Boston, it's just they're going to just be a strong contender, which they haven't been in a long time. So it's really going to be exciting to see. I think also with the Blue Jays, I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he's going to be really trying to play as hard as he can. He with the contract year, I think he could, try to play for a contract in Toronto, or somebody else is going to want to get him. And then Bo Bichette, I think he's going to have a turnaround season. I think he's definitely somebody who, at the end of the day, he had a rough year last year, but I think he can bring it back, and we'll hopefully see Max Scherzer and Jeff Hoffman stay healthy for the Blue Jays. So I definitely think with having Max Scherzer too, it's going to be huge. So definitely going to be an exciting division to watch. Probably going to be one of the favorite divisions, especially in the American League. And I definitely think they could produce a potential World Series contender, or definitely somebody that can make it to the World Series. Um, Definitely want to next go to the AL Central. So with the AL Central, you have the Kansas City Royals, the Detroit Tigers, the Minnesota Twins, and the Cleveland Guardians. A lot of people definitely think that the Royals will be the favorite coming out of the division, which the Royals have definitely have had success in the past. But with getting Jonathan India, I think that kind of brings them back to being a contender. And then, of course, having uh, Hunter Renfro and Bobby Witt Jr. Those are some just great, great players. And Bobby Witt Jr., he's a superstar. I think if he has a terrific year this year, he could be an MVP. I actually was talking to some friends, and I definitely see him as one of the MVP favorites. He definitely brings it. He definitely brings, a captainship to that team. And he's just a hell of a player, and he always just plays really aggressive, even on the base path. So I think Bobby Witt Jr. He's definitely going to be an MVP favorite. I definitely have my NL MVP pick, I think, already, just after watching spring training. But talking about the AL right now, I think I actually can say comfortably that Bobby Witt Jr. is my MVP pick. I think he will win the MVP, even if the Royals don't do what some of the experts think they'll do. I think he definitely can do it. Another person I think could be potentially an MVP, but definitely another Cy Young winner is Tariq Skubal for the Detroit Tigers. I actually think the Detroit Tigers will win the division title. What's really, really cool is Tariq Skubal wrote a letter to the city of Detroit, just, hyping up the year, hyping up Tigers baseball. And I really, really think he is going to be the reason the Detroit Tigers do what they do. I know a pitcher only pitches once every few days, so every 5 games you're going to get to see that pitcher due to resting and the rotation. But with Scuball, he's unbelievable. I mean, the guy is unbelievable, and I think after he gets away from this contract that he's on, I think I can see the Tigers extending him for a long, long time, and him doing that. And then, also Jackson Joby. That's another great pitcher. So the bullpen for Detroit is going to be fantastic. And then when you have a manager like AJ Hinch, it's just you're definitely always going to contend. He's revived Detroit baseball, so I really, really excited to see that. Actually, something fun, when I was around October of last year, I got kind of bored. I wrote letters to a bunch of professional sports organizations, baseball, basketball, football, and I wrote a letter to Detroit. And what's really exciting is got it from the spring training facilities of the Detroit Tigers, but Jim Leland sent me an autographed Hall of Fame program. So that is super cool. Love Jim Leland, Detroit Tigers legend, just an MLB legend, just went into the Hall of Fame, famous for ripping cigs in the dugout. He always was a great coach. So to get an autograph and to be on a Hall of Fame program, super, super cool. So I was very, very excited to get that. So, but I just think the Tigers, they're just going to be very strong. I think the Cleveland Guardians, I think they're going to take a huge step back, being last in the division. Especially just they just don't have the power. You have Jose Ramirez, of course. He's a superstar. He always will be a superstar, especially being there for the Guardians. But they're just not the team that they were. And the same thing with the Minnesota Twins. I think they're strong. I think they do have a couple offensive weapons in Minnesota, but I just don't see them contending, especially with such a strong Kansas City Royals, Detroit Tigers team. I can actually see this division going all the way down to the wire at the end of the summer, and it's going to be between Kansas City and Detroit, and I think they're going to be battling out. I haven't really got to look at either of their schedules, but I'm excited to see if there's potential of those two battling it out towards the end. And it's always fun to see teams play each other, just try to make the playoffs. It gets it more intense. I love regular season baseball, I love playoff baseball, but when it comes to wanting to get in the playoffs and play to get in the playoffs, that's definitely something fun to see when teams can battle it out there towards the end of the regular season or even playing a wild card playoff to make the playoffs. So it's really cool to see. So, but yeah, Detroit Tigers are my pick for the AL Central. I definitely think the AL Central is strong. It's always been a very, very weak division, but it is a new division, and there's almost like a new revival in that division. Um, the next division I want to talk about in the American League is the AL West. So you got the Texas Rangers, you got the Seattle Mariners. You also have the Houston Astros. You also have the Las Vegas Athletics, which I actually want to check out something real quick. Um, and you also have the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. But when it comes to the Athletics, I wanted to look at something. What's interesting about that is it's almost like they're just called the the Athletics. Like that's what's interesting. I wanted to look at that. It seems like they're not any city representation because they're not ready to play in Las Vegas yet. The stadium's not ready. So that is something interesting that I wanted to mention. They're just the Athletics. So that's going to be kind of cool to see something different. They definitely played their last game in the Oakland Coliseum last year, sold it out. It's a very controversial stadium to go to. It's a very controversial team. The security at the Oakland Coliseum was horrible, made it very unfun for baseball fans. You would want to go down and see players warming up. Every other stadium lets you go up to the wall, and then eventually when the game starts, you go back to your seats. But it just wasn't cool there. But I'm glad to see that the Athletics are still going to be able to play baseball, and then they'll eventually get to Las Vegas. They're actually going to be playing out of West Sacramento, which is in California, Northern California. So it'll be very interesting to see. That's what I wanted to look up to see if they still had it listed as the Athletics. And yep, that's what they're going to do. I think that people were discussing, were they going to call them the West Sacramento Athletics until they got to Vegas? No, they're going to do the Athletics and then eventually be the Las Vegas Athletics. But I just don't see them being a contender at all, and I don't see them doing well this season. Especially also the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Mike Trout is going to quit playing center field, and he's going to play right field. And I think that's going to be awesome for Mike Trout. I think that he can play outfield anywhere. He is definitely someone who, is just a superstar. And I think that with him switching out of center field, I think it's just definitely going to preserve his health and extend his career. When it comes to center field, you are kind of the captain of the outfield. You're the main thing. A lot of people drive the ball down the middle, and I think Mike Trout with injuries and stuff, I think right field will reduce the physical demands of his legs. Mike Trout has always been a famous player for running the ball down, running to the wall, jumping. He's always been very athletic and just been a hell of a center fielder. So I think the right field will take a little bit of stress off his body. I actually was out in Los Angeles, in Anaheim area, watching an Angels game many years ago. They were playing the Seattle Mariners. It was a lot of fun, great stadium. And what was super cool to see was Mike Trout robbed a ball at the center field wall. And I was like, this is legendary to see. I mean, Mike Trout's going to be a Hall of Famer. So it's always cool to see baseball catches. And the thing about it, a lot of times, catches get famous or one catch is definitely focused on. But when it came to Mike Trout and that catch, he's had so many. That one wasn't just a solid, memorable one. That was one that, was just a hell of a catch, and he does it so regularly. It seems normal. But yeah, The Athletics, the Angels, I just don't see them contending. I don't see them doing playoff baseball, and they're going to probably be the weaker teams of the American League as a whole. But my pick is the Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers are just so strong, and I think the Seattle Mariners, the Astros, will definitely be on their tail. I know the Mariners definitely will be. The Mariners are a whole new team. Julio Rodriguez, he's unbelievable, and he is just going to have a huge hot start. I see him just really, really doing well. And Edgar Martinez, the former DH for the Mariners, a Hall of Famer, he's the hitting coach. So I definitely see him helping the Mariners hit the ball well, and it's definitely going to give them a strong year. But the Texas Rangers, they're just so good. Very, very well coached, have a great team, a younger team, and I just see them getting that win. Now, I don't see the Rangers or any team out of the AL West contending for a World Series. I think we're going to be seeing that out of the AL Central and out of the AL East. But I think that they will definitely be a contender and somebody that everybody's got to look out for. And when it comes down to the AL wild cards, the few picks that I see contending to be an AL wild card team, excuse me, is the New York Yankees, the Houston Astros, and the Baltimore Orioles. I think the Baltimore Orioles will be the AL wildcard team if they don't end up winning that division from Boston. But it could be anybody's grab. But I definitely see with the AL wildcards, the three teams that are contending for that are going to be the Yankees, Astros, and Orioles. But you never know. The AL has always been strong, definitely always offensive. And I think this American League has hell of a great pitch and rotation all across the board in the American League. I think pitching is going to be strong, and I'm really, really excited to see how that all plays out. I think overall, like I said, my AL Cy Young pick is going to be Tariq Skubal, and I think my AL MVP is going to be Bobby Wood Jr. I just see those two guys um, being productive like they were last year, and I think those two guys are going to be the picks this year that bring home those trophies. But overall, if I had to give a solid pick of who's going to represent the American League in the World Series, because I like to break down the whole season, kind of give you my pick of overall how it's going to finish. I know this is a shocker, but I think the Detroit Tigers can do it. There's just a new attitude. There's young, that rotation, the coaching staff, and Detroit just loves this baseball team again. Detroit is seeing success all across the board in that sports town. With the Pistons doing great this year in the NBA, the Lions always contending here the past couple of years and what Dan Campbell's brought, and then bam, the Detroit Tigers being hot and what they did last year is a lot of excitement, a lot of fun to watch, and definitely was fun to watch the Tigers there in the playoffs. So I think the Tigers are going to do it. I think a lot of people think Boston will be the AL champion and they'll be the one representing, but in my opinion, the Tigers. But would if Boston makes it, I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked at all. So let's switch over to the National League. The National League is going to be just as exciting as the American League. And I think when it comes to the National League, you got your five teams. And with the National League, you got the Atlanta Braves, you got the Philadelphia Phillies, you got the New York Mets, and you also have the Miami Marlins, and you have the Washington Nationals. Now, when it comes to the Washington Nationals, the Miami Marlins, again, we're back to the similar situation in the AL West. Those two teams are not going to contend. I just don't see them doing it. The Miami Marlins, they are so famously known for getting players in their system down there and then moving them. And they go to contenders and they leave. And Miami, just the city as a whole, they're not backing the Marlins as much as, a lot of cities back their professional teams. It's just kind of interesting. The Florida Marlins in the past had a lot of success. They were at another stadium. But when it comes to the Miami Marlins, they have a great stadium, but it doesn't get filled up. When they did the World Baseball Classic, it seemed like it was more filled up for that in Miami compared to when you see regular season games. And then again, Miami never really makes the playoffs. So you don't really get to see what it would do for that city having that place packed with actual Miami Marlin fans. And then when it comes to Washington Nationals, I just think they're terrible. I think the Washington Nationals will finish last in that division. I don't see them contending. I think the Miami Marlins will be a little bit better, but I don't see either team contending. And when it comes to this division, it's going to be between three. It's going to be the Atlanta Braves, the Philadelphia Phillies, and the New York Mets. I think that the Phillies will be very, very strong, but I think the Atlanta Braves, they're going to win the division. They're just so strong. They are offensively a powerhouse, and I just see them just really, really bringing it. But the team that's going to be a sleeper, and the thing that people are not realizing is the New York Mets. They got Juan Soto. They went all out. Their owner likes to spend money. And when an owner likes to spend money, that usually means they're going to bring successful players, successful teams to, um, you know, uh, baseball. And when you spend money, and that's pretty much on any team in any professional league, when the owner spends money and when the owner promises players that, hey, we want to keep you in this team, we want to keep you for the future, we want you to build a legacy at this organization, that is when you will win baseball games. But I don't see the Mets, even though Juan Soto is a superstar and definitely an MVP contender. Like, definitely an MVP contender. My MVP pick, which I'll get to more in detail later, but it's LA De La Cruz from the Cincinnati Reds. Not just saying that because I'm a Reds player. The guy is doing it all. He's amazing on the field, amazing at bat, been hitting tons of home runs in spring training, and can bat left or right, which is really cool to see because switch hitting can definitely be difficult. So when you see success from both sides of the batter's box, it's huge. But I think Juan Soto, he's going to be on Ellie's butt for MVP. I think he's going to be that one where they're going to be chasing each other and they're going to be following each other. And I see both of them being the picks because Juan Soto, he hits bombs, he hits doubles. He's somebody that you can always assume is going to get a hit on the stat sheet for that game. So I'm really, really excited to see how that MVP battles out. But I see Soto definitely going against Ellie for that. But to get back to the division, the Phillies will definitely be somebody strong. I think that, with Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, and Jesus Luzardo, I think that's going to be very, very, and important. And I think that too, it's just I just see the Braves just beating them out. The Atlanta Braves baseball has just been so strong. Acuna's back. I saw Acuna taking some bats. He looks great. Hopefully he can stay healthy, especially with the knees, and and to see what can happen. But I think the NL East, my pick is definitely going to be the Atlanta Braves. Now, when you get to the NL Central, you got the Chicago Cubs, you got the Milwaukee Brewers, you got the Cincinnati Reds, you got the St. Louis Cardinals, and another team that is out of the NL Central that I wanted to discuss is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, with the Pittsburgh Pirates, it's kind of sad. They always seem to have some kind of relevancy when it comes to players. And the player that they have the most relevancy with, and the player that's a superstar, probably a future Hall of Famer, is Paul Skeens. We all know Paul Skeens. He best pitcher in baseball, in my opinion, right up there with Tariq Skubal. He had a great won the Rookie of the Year of the National League. Started for the All Star game last year, and then he's now going to be the starting pitcher for Pittsburgh on opening day. And that's what's going to really help the Pirates. They got legends like McCutchen, and they got young players. But at the end of the day, when you look at Paul Skeens, the thing about Paul Skeens that's exciting for the Pirates, no matter if they don't have a lot of success offensively, and even they don't have a lot of success when it comes to pitching, Paul Skeens brings you a guaranteed win usually on that day. When he's battling out, if the Pirates can let him stay to 7 innings, maybe 8, I know they like to preserve his arm, but he had some short outings last season. If we can see him get to those longer game stretches where he stays in, the Pirates are going to get a dub each time he's pitching. So, but I don't think they're going to do anything. And I see them being fourth in the division, and I see the St. Louis Cardinals being the last place. St. Louis Cardinals are not who they were. They sent Paul Goldschmidt to the New York Yankees, which, He's a former MVP. I know that that has to do with money and rebuild. So the Cardinals are really on a rebuild. The Pirates are young. Um, I just don't think they're well coached, and I think they have a couple veterans that can definitely help with the clubhouse. But Paul Skeens is really the only, like, I think, true relevant piece that's going to really make a difference. Now, when we break down the top three teams, the Cubs, Pirates, or excuse me, the Cubs, Brewers, and Reds, the Brewers always seem like the powerhouse. The Cubs are so well coached, and the thing about the Cubs being well coached, they they definitely were a favorite last year to do something, but they didn't. They kind of fell apart. And so my opinion with this division, I think the Reds. I think the Cincinnati Reds are going to actually be the first place pick. A lot of experts are picking the Cubs. And then there's also people that think the Brewers are going to be in that mix. But I think with Terry Francona, Ellie De La Cruz, and some of these young superstars that we got in Cincinnati, I think the Cincinnati Reds can actually win the division. There's excitement in baseball. Of course, there's excitement for opening day. And I think with that NL Central, it might not be the best, most powerhouse division, but I definitely see the Reds, they can definitely contend with the Cubs and Brewers, and I think they can do it. I know I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan. It sounds like I'm being a homer, but I just really do. I believe in Francona. I believe the culture he's bringing. I believe that focus that he's doing with LA De La Cruz is just huge. And I'm glad we're away from, the coaches of the past where it seems like they get these permission to stay so long, but they're just not relevant. So I just don't see the Reds having those downward spiral teams or losing teams, and if the Reds can get hot, they can contend with anybody. I really wish that we didn't get rid of Jonathan India. I think that was a definitely upsetting thing that happened, and I think that just built more power for the Kansas City Royals. But the good thing is, with the Reds being in the National League, the one thing is, thank God he didn't go to a National League contender and he actually went to someone in the American League. Now, let's get to the division that sadly, I just think they're going to be fun to watch this division, but you really have nobody that's relevant besides, of course, the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, the Los Angeles Dodgers are, they're the LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh Miami Heat. They're a powerhouse. They have superstars. You have Freddie Freeman, who was unbelievable in the MLB playoffs. You got Shohei Ohtani, who's the best baseball player in all of baseball. He is actually someone that I think will be in the MVP contender race as well with Juan Soto and Ellie De La Cruz, but I did see Ellie or Juan Soto pulling it off. But the Dodgers are going to be a powerhouse. The Dodgers already got 2 wins. They played in that Japanese series over in Tokyo, and that was really cool for baseball, playing the Cubs over there. But the thing about it is, with the Dodgers being 2-0, it's just they're already 2-0. They're already guaranteed. Shohei already hit a home run. It's just they're strong, and then the division, which I was shocked to know that like a lot of opening days were starting in Tokyo. Now I don't really consider that opening day. I consider opening day today on March 27th. So that's why I put out this MLB preview. I could have put this out before that Japanese series, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to break it down now before today and have this episode come out. But the other teams in this division are the San Diego Padres, the Colorado Rockies, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and San Francisco Giants. Now, when I look at these divisions, I think the Padres will be the one that can contend with the Dodgers. They got superstars, they got great players, but I think that they're the only one that can really, really give the Dodgers a run for the money. The Dodgers actually have a very, very weak division. When you think about the Colorado Rockies, I mean, horrible. And when you think about the Arizona Diamondbacks, yeah, they have Corbin Carroll, who's a superstar, but they got rid of a lot of guys. They moved on to a lot of guys. And then I also just think the Giants, as much as they have a couple weapons, I just don't see them contending. So I see the Los Angeles Dodgers. I see them getting up big on the division, and I think that they're going to be my World Series pick. I think that they'll be the ones playing either the Boston Red Sox or the Detroit Tigers. But again, I think it's going to be the Tigers from the American League. So I think my National League pick has got to be the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I see the Los Angeles Dodgers just being just a powerhouse this year, which kind of frustrates you. It makes you kind of makes you want to pull your hair out because you're like, when will they not be good? And the problem is they just have so many weapons. They got so much money, and everybody now is become a Dodgers fan. So, and sadly, I have to admit, I think they're going to win the World Series again this year. I think that it's going to be a great season. I think there's going to be sleeper teams. There's going to be shocking things. There's going to be surprises. But when it comes to Los Angeles Dodgers, I just think they win it all in baseball. But when it comes to wild card teams, I think the Mets, the Phillies, and the Padres, I think those are your three teams that you can look for. The Diamondbacks, they can be a little bit relevant. I know I said they're not as strong as they were, but in my opinion, the Mets, the Phillies, and Padres, those are the ones that are going to be really battling out for the wild card. I also think if the Reds don't do better than the Brewers or the Cubs, I could see them doing it, and I could see the same thing with those Cubs, Brewers, Brewers teams being the wild card relevance. But those are my three picks for that. I just think that they are going to be just it's going to be a mix for that wild card. They're all going to be you know just battling it out. But I think my NL Cy Young winner is going to be Paul Skeens. I think Paul Skeens is going to have a humongous year. He just had a baseball card sell for 1.1 million, which is more than his year's salary this year for the Pittsburgh Pirates. But that guy just he knows how to be successful. He knows how to make money. Dating Olivia Dunn. I mean, what else can you ask for with this Pittsburgh Pirate guy? He's just a legend. But I think breaking it down, I think he'll be our NL Cy Young pick. And again, I think the MVP will be LA De La Cruz. I think that the overall breakdown, like I said, I think it's going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the Detroit Tigers. And as much as I love to see the Tigers bring home a series there for that city in the American League, I just don't see them being the Dodgers. And I think Los Angeles, again, they will be the one who, just brings it home. But overall, I think this year with baseball, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of people think the Braves, hopefully could try to compete with the Dodgers to kind of maybe knock the top dog off. But I just don't see it happening. But I think too, with our American League MVP, I picked Bobby Witt Jr. I think Aaron Judge, Gunnar Henderson, Vlad Guerrero, Alex Bergman, Brent Roker. I think those guys can definitely be in the mix, but I just don't see it, being nobody else besides Bobby Wood Jr. this year. And Jackson Joby, I think he can win Rookie of the Year for the American League. I really do, and I think Tariq Skubal, he's just going to win the Cy Young again. I think with the NL, MVP, like I said, Tatis Jr., Shohei, they'll be in the mix, but I think this is an LA versus Juan Soto battle out for MVP. And then when it comes to NL Rookie of the Year, I think the one success that the Washington Nationals will have is Dylan Cruz. He's just a strong player, and I think he'll do really well. I think he's going to have a good season, but he's really going to be the only thing relevant, the only thing real popular coming out of that Washington organization. And I just think that they have a long future of growth that they really need to do. And then Paul Skeens, he'll be battling out with Zach Wheeler and Blake Snell, of course, the NL Cy Young. But Paul Skeens, he's just unbelievable, best pitcher in baseball. He's just really, really exciting to see. I know that people think with Aaron Boone coming back, he's coached his Yankees. He knows that division. He knows American League Baseball. That he'll be successful. But again, I think it's going to be the Detroit Tigers versus the Los Angeles Dodgers, with the Dodgers winning the World Series. So again, this was a solo episode. This was the 2025 MLB preview show by Vibing with Sleezy, the podcast. I love breaking down these sports, NBA, MLB, NFL. I even done a golf masters episode. So I love bringing you all solo sports episodes. I want to always keep you all up to date on sports, my picks, and what's exciting looking back on a lot of my episodes. A lot of my picks usually become current and popular and actually happen. So that makes me always excited. I try to do the research. I try to bring relevancy to my podcast and bring things that make sense and always produce you a great product. And no matter if it's a solo episode or episode with a guest, I want to bring you stuff that you're going to learn. And I'm really, really excited to see how this MLB season plays out. And I hope that my podcast gets you excited and gets you kind of into the season. And then you can kind of stay up with my picks to see if they actually happen. But I just really, really excited to see how it plays out. I'm already excited for playoff baseball. It's at the end of the year, but I'm excited to go to some games. I'm excited to go to some minor league games. I'm hoping to go to the Indianapolis Indians. Never been to their stadium. Would like to check that out. Definitely go to some Louisville Bats games, but get to Cincinnati and maybe get out to a few other ballparks. It'd be kind of cool to see a Kansas City Royals game, especially with them having relevancy and me never being able to go to a Royals game yet out there in Kansas City. But again, baseball season's coming. Today is the official opening day. I know the Dodgers did their thing in Japan for a couple games with that series being technically the opening day, but today is officially MLB opening day. And so I hope you get to watch. I hope you get to tune in. Go Reds. But I think this is the Dodgers year. I'm out. Keep downloading. More episodes coming. Peace.